Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Thursday, 20 November. Holy, how the fuck is it the 20th of November? Anyway, I'm your host Daniel, and today we're just going to talk about one thing, and that is the US, Ukrainian and Russian peace deal that was reportedly negotiated by the US and Russia behind the scenes and has kind of leaked to the press over the last 24 hours. So we'll just cover off. I've got AI to summarize a bunch of news articles into a block of text, and then we'll cover off what the reported key provisions are, and then have a bit of an assessment / chat at the end. So reports from multiple news agencies suggest the United States has drafted a 28-point peace plan for ending the war in Ukraine, which President Donald Trump has reportedly approved. The proposal would require Ukraine to cede some territory currently held by Russian forces and agree to major reductions in military capacity. In exchange, the US would provide security guarantees to protect Ukraine and Europe from future Russian aggression. Kyiv was not involved in preparing the plan, and the White House has declined to comment on its release. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has emphasized that Washington has gathered realistic ideas from both sides to work towards a durable peace in the area. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has not publicly addressed the reported plan directly, but he urged the United States to show strong leadership in helping bring an end to the war. He said only the US and President Trump have the necessary influence to stop the conflict, now entering its third year. However, the proposal has sparked significant concern within Ukraine. Critics argue that ceding territory and weakening the military would leave the country vulnerable to future attacks and therefore contradict Ukraine's core security interests. Ukrainian lawmaker Oleksiy Goronochk told Deutsche Welle that the plan reportedly sounded like surrender, dismissing it as a possible Russian disinformation aimed at pressuring Kyiv into ceding territory. He insisted that Ukraine's armed forces, not foreign guarantees, remain the country's primary safeguard, and he expressed confidence that the US would not push Ukraine to an unfavorable deal. The controversy comes at a politically fragile moment for Zelenskyy, who is facing major domestic upheaval, including corruption investigations involving close aides and a recent ministerial resignation. The Ukrainian lawmaker also stressed that any eventual agreement would need approval not only from Ukraine's leadership, but from the Ukrainian society as a whole. So, just to cover off what the key reported provisions are, would be that Ukraine would be required to cede territory it currently holds in the east, including the rest of the Donbass region, and recognize these areas as part of the territory of Russia, which includes Crimea. Ukraine military capacity would be dramatically reduced. Some reports cited that it would be cut in half, and others up to 60%, which would be a massive change. Ukraine would accept limitations on its alliances and foreign involvement, including its restriction to entering into NATO. There was also reports they would have to hand over long-range weaponry, including long-range drones and missiles, though it's not clear if this means hand them over to Russia or hand them over back to, say, the US, because I don't think the US would allow them to just give US military equipment to Russia. That would be fucking stupid. In return, the United States and its allies would provide security guarantees for Ukraine and Europe against any further Russian aggression, and the plan reportedly covers broader US-Russian relations and European security architecture. Yeah, so what? I don't know. I'm on the fence about this. On the one hand, I can see why now would be a good time for Ukraine to make a peace deal and to end this conflict. Things are not going well in the east. They're losing territory at a more rapid pace as they have in the past, mostly due to a lack of troops. That's what it kind of comes down to. At the end of the day, Ukraine is just running out of humans to fight. And as any good infantry soldier knows, it doesn't matter what weapons, equipment, or technology you have. At the end of the day, fighting wars is done by people. For now, anyway, until we have fucking robots to do all of that for us. But yeah. So I can see why they would be open to this idea. The major concern for me is these security guarantees. Most people, most analyst reports that I've read, most people I've talked to, all come to the same conclusion that any peace agreement without strong, clear, and binding security guarantees from Europe and the US would just lead to Russia taking time to rebuild their army, learn from their mistakes in this war, and just going again in a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long they're needed. And what that would look like is they just essentially concoct some form of break in this peace agreement and use it to justify further invasion into Ukraine. If this was to actually work and Ukraine to actually agree to it, I think it would need to involve some form of foreign troops being in the country in between the two, Russia and Ukraine. I don't think there's any other solution at this point. It would end up looking like a North-South Korea type situation where there is a demilitarized zone that cuts them in half or cuts between them, and this is policed and controlled by foreign troops who are stationed there. I think that's the only realistic way that this would kind of come to an end. But I don't think Russia would agree to that. I don't know who both sides could agree on that would be like enough of a third party to do this operation. Turkish troops, maybe, but they're in NATO, so that's probably off the table. But yeah, I don't know. This leaves a lot of questions for me, and it's pretty tough. I don't see how this works. And my worry is that the US, most notably Trump, may try to force Ukraine into accepting this deal through threats of complete abandonment. And if they don't take what was a really shit deal, the US will just leave them out to dry and they'll just get absolutely fucked by Russia. Yeah. So, bit of a different one this morning, but thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you!